and thank you for tuning into the Pink Lifestyle Show. I am your host, Karen Bannister, and I am thrilled to introduce you to this episode's guest. Kristina Campos has been an educator for over 20 years, working with all grade levels from preschool through 12th grade. She graduated from the University of Colorado at Boulder and received her master's degree from the University of Denver. After many years of teaching, Kristina saw a need to help children from the source, which is in the home. So with great enthusiasm, she quit her teaching job and founded the organization, The Impactful Parent. Now Kristina helps parents of school-age children by providing parenting tips, resources, and community to those who follow her. Now Kristina lives in Colorado and has 4 school-age children of her own, and also volunteers as a Board of Trustee for 2 different local Colorado schools, because apparently she has free time. I don't know. She has a passion for children and a strong devotion to serving parents and their school-age children. Kristina continues to stay active in the schools by substitute teaching whenever her schedule allows. Welcome, Kristina. I am so excited to have you here today.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, that's just wonderful. So what I would like you to do first is perhaps share your journey and your inspiration for creating the Impactful Parent, and then, of course, ultimately the services you do provide for parents.
Okay, well, my journey actually kind of starts with me crying in my closet, actually. And if you're a parent, you understand this, because it's that place in your home where you run and hide from your children so that you could be alone. Maybe you're talking on the phone with a girlfriend or something, but for me, it's a place where I go and show emotion that I didn't really want my kids to see. And
what's wrong with that?
Yeah, rewind a little bit. And the reason why I was crying in my closet was because I was getting a divorce, and I didn't take it lightly. It's not something that I wanted. And with divorce, if you've been through it, it's a huge life shift.
Oh, yeah.
I've been many different types of parents in the last 20 more years of my life. And so, I was a stay-at-home mom for a while. That was wonderful. I was a part-time working mom for a while. That was also great. I was a full-time working mom. I was a mom that went back to school. I was a mom that is working full-time, and then now I'm an entrepreneur mom. And but through all of those things, I saw that I was going to have to make a shift, right? There was a shift happening in my divorce. Things were going to change again. And honestly, I had to make some really tough choices in that section of my life where I needed a restart button so bad. Like, I just needed that to happen.
Yeah,
just that restart button.
Restart, yeah.
And when you do that, I'd made a whole bunch of different steps in order to how to get there. But one of the things, I went back to school. One of the things was, I made a whole new friendships and stuff. And then the next thing I did was I got to figure out how to provide for myself financially, because although I was a teacher and loved it, as you know, teachers just is not cutting it as far as pay.
Right.
And in addition to that, it was taking so much out of me. I'm a giver by nature. I give and I give and I give. And unfortunately, through my rediscovery process and that big shift in my life, I discovered that I was giving a little too much to everybody else and not enough to my family. And with that, I had a couple emerging teenagers at the time that I saw not only needed me more than before because they were going to go through a life shift of divorce, but because they were becoming teenagers, and that's hard.
Yeah.
And so I had to make that tough decision to quit a job that I absolutely love, but stop focusing on fixing everybody else's kids and really start focusing on my own. And how I came to that decision was, again, that realization that I'm a giver. I need to give. If I don't give at the end of the day, I just don't feel very good about myself. I love service. And I wanted to live authentically moving forward after that transition and really improve, right? And when you want to get better as you get older.
Absolutely.
And that shift happened in my late 30s. And so I think I was 38 at the time. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to spend the next 40 years getting better. Like, this is going to get better, right? And I got to live authentically. How am I going to do that if I can't teach? And how am I going to do that if I need to really focus on my family?
Right.
And how am I going to do that if I need to provide for myself now and I don't have a partner?
Right.
And I came up with this idea of starting my own business, and that way I can have the flexibility that I needed. I came up with the idea of, okay, what am I really good at? Man, I just know a lot about children. I have tons of knowledge about working with kids, literally for over 20 years, hands-on every single day, all kinds of grade levels, unlike a lot of teachers who only do like a third grade level or just a middle school teacher. I
did find that interesting that you didn't stay with just one age or grade level through
I was an elective teacher.
It was
I actually got to see anywhere from preschool through middle school or high school, and I taught high school too, but every single day for several years. And so it just gives you a different perspective on child development and all those things. It's like, well, man, I can help parents. That's how I can help people. That's how I can give again. So I decided to found the Impactful Parent. And now I haven't been in business too long. I've been in business for a little over a year now, but I feel like this is where I should sit. This is my calling. This is where I need to be moving forward. So I'm really excited about it.
That's fantastic. Okay, so you say helping parents. And anyway, that's an amazing journey and an incredible reason multiple reasons to start a business.
Yeah.
Helping yourself, helping your family, and sticking with a passion, something something you love. That's very important when starting a business from scratch, because as you know, it's not the easiest thing in the world to start a business. But when it's something that you love, it helps.
You have to love it.
Right. You have to love it.
You have to love it, because you don't do it for the work. The work is intensive. In fact, if I would have known how bad it's going to be, if somebody would have warned me, I wouldn't have believed them, first of all. And then if I would have known, I'm not saying I wouldn't have done it, but I definitely would have thought twice. Because I figured the first few years would be difficult, and I'm still in that. So I'm anticipating that still now. But yeah, it's so much work. If you don't have passion for really what you're doing, I can't think of a better reason why you're going to do it, because it won't be sustainable over time if you're not passionate.
Right. Absolutely. So tell us about your business. I mean, you say that you help parents and you know so much about kids. Tell us exactly, what your company does, what you do.
So I consider that I have 3 pillars. It's community, advice, and resources. I mainly give parenting tips, free parenting tips, by the way, to people on social media. I have my own podcast too, and a YouTube channel, and I give free parenting tips on all different kinds of subjects. So I do like a parent education video once a week. I also do like a question and answer Thursday where people can submit their own questions, and I can speak to my experience with it and my advice, my tips to it. And I usually do some quick tips along the way too. Along with that, if I know of anything, if I can give you a resource to help you, then I give that to you. And most of my resources are free, other than a few of my paid programs, which are just a lot more intensive, take more commitment. And then of course, it took me more time to develop. So that's why they're paid. But I'm about giving you the resources that you need, because parenting is trial and error. It is tough. And the reason it's trial and error and there's no manual for parenting is because, every kid's different. What works for one child does not work for another.
I think people really need to hear that, because they think, gosh, am I being a good mom? Am I being a good dad?
Absolutely. No right answers. And you think that, okay, you got one kid and they do really well, your firstborn, and then the second one comes along and the things that you did for the first one don't work for the second one. And you're like, what? So, it's just trial and error. So my mantra kind of is just to say, I'm here, you got this. I'm here to help. try these different things. And the more tips and advice you can get, not only from me, but as a community, if people want to write in and give their own tips on their own experience with the same topic, the more tips you can get, the more, that's valuable. Now you have things that you can try with your child instead of being stuck in the rut and figuring, throwing my hands up, I don't know what to do. No, I'm going to give you some options of what to do, and we're going to figure it out, and we're going to figure it out together. And hopefully along the way, over my, the next few years and beyond, I want to start creating a bigger community of parents that are willing to share their experiences, and not just me, and that we can build together. And again, trial and error, just give you as much as you can.
Oh, that's going to be probably already is. I mean, my child, I mentioned in our pre-recording conversation, my child's grown. So, but I do remember the thought of, oh my God, what am I doing? And I wish I had more people to talk to rather than my close circle of friends and the, parents and like my parents. It would have been fantastic to have a large community like that, just to question and answer back and forth. And I think that's amazing.
And to make it so that its majority is free. So you could just come and, go into the community and ask a question instead of having to pay for everything. But of course, having to pay for something that's going to be a little bit more intensive and take time is kind of the premise, because it's like, and I say school age children, because that's where I felt the need. And that's where I have most of my expertise also, of course, being a school age teacher. But there's something that happens as your child gets older. When you have a newborn, there's lots of books and you're excited, and there's like mom groups and there's all those things. In fact, even play dates. Like, what do? You don't drop off your child. You go with your child and you talk to the parents while you're there at the play day or at the park. But when your kid hits school age, now you're dropping them off. Now you're not going into the school and volunteering anymore because maybe your child doesn't even want you there because they're a teenager and they're trying to separate or whatever their reasons. And all of that's developmentally appropriate.
Right.
But it sure makes parenting lonely. We lose those connections. And that's where I'm hoping the impactful parent will fill the hole.
I totally see that. I mean, that's going to be amazing. I mean, I was on your website, and it looks like you're already, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're already starting to create community. Is that?
Yeah, I am. I'm trying.
Okay, yeah. Good. So everybody, she's already started. So you got to jump on board with her now. So your business is clearly, very family oriented, but you yourself, of course, have started and are running a business. So I'm sure you have advice about how you personally and how you help other people. How do you keep things family first? I mean, clearly for you, it was for me, for a lot of people. Yes, we have our work, we have our companies that we love, but we do it because we love our families. Mm-hmm. But the balance is hard. So how do you try and keep things family first?
It's intentional. It has to be an intentional effort, because if you keep just saying to yourself, oh, I'll do that tonight with you, or I will block out this time tonight and I'm going to spend some time and I'm going to turn off my computer or whatever it is, the phone, and be with my kids, it doesn't happen. So it's got to be a really intentional effort. It just makes it much more reliable that it's going to happen. I highly suggest that you actually schedule in your agenda for the day, your family time. Block it off. Actually have it so it's one of your meetings, as if you were going to have a meeting with anybody else in your workplace. Mm-hmm. Your family is meeting with you. Block it off. Block off that time. Then it becomes a much more intentional thing that you're going to do every single day. And you can choose when that is, and you can vary the time, because really the important part of that is making time. It doesn't necessarily have to be 4 hours, 3 hours, 2 hours, even 1 hour every night, really dedicated to truly focus on your children and giving them the attention that they want or need. That could be sufficient depending on your family dynamic. It really could. So I think that a lot of times we have a little too much pressure on ourselves on it. but it's more about the authentic way you spend that time with your kid and not the amount of time you're going to spend with your children. And really, because you can watch a movie with your kid and that's 2.5 hours, but you're not talking with them and you're not really hanging, you're not really engaging. That's not a very good 2.5 hours. You can take 30 minutes and play a board game with your child where you're literally interacting and you're doing problem solving skills with them and you're teaching them about resiliency when they lose. And that's a much more authentic 30 minutes than the 2.5 hours if you were to watch a movie with them. So I think that put it in perspective like anything else in your entrepreneur life on how you're going to incorporate your family in a more authentic way so that you can give them what they need.
That's wonderful. So quality over quantity.
Yes, definitely.
Clearly is important for that. Okay, so we've talked about you have community and you have courses. I'm curious, do you do like one-on-one or group coaching or services, anything like that?
Yeah, I can. I'm going to actually start another group coaching here coming up in the new year where I'd like to get a group of parents to come in and start doing more. It's a connection and conversation group where I'll bring a topic that will not only grow you in your parenting, but also they're really actually pretty controversial topics that I plan to present to the parents, things that not necessarily have right or wrong answers. So it's kind of digs deeper. That way it really makes connections with your group and you start to develop those. And we do it all online and it's all online anyway. So not to say if COVID was over and everything, I couldn't do it in person, but it's much easier this way. That was how it was tended before we got into this pandemic anyhow. We're all busy parents. So sometimes it's just easier to meet virtually.
Yeah, I mean, it cuts down on travel time. If you're local, you can reach a better, larger audience because they don't have to all be local. Yeah.
And one thing I really liked about the internet type of it, again, before COVID, was I liked the idea that somebody in the group could come in and be anonymous. They could change their name, their screen name. They could black out if they needed to. So that we didn't see them, or just change their name. Hopefully we actually get to see that person, but they could come in and ask questions and not feel embarrassed that they're asking those questions, that we don't have to know where you're from and where you live. Because sometimes we get parent shamed a lot in society.
Oh, so true.
And yeah, it's so bad. And I feel like that's one of the reasons we have a hard time when we have teenagers to develop true authentic friendships with other parents, is that parenting in the teenage years almost feels like a competition. How's your kid doing in school? Have they started applying for colleges yet? Things like that. And, not every kid is college bound, and kids make really bad choices when they're teenagers. And it's embarrassing when your teenager does something but you have no control over that. You shouldn't be embarrassed, by the way, but you are. I mean, we get it. I'm embarrassed too when my teenagers make bad choices, but it's part of the growing up process, but it's embarrassing. And it's to seek that help is tough when it's in person and your neighbors know all your dirty laundry and what's really happening inside your home. And yet that's really where we need the most support, is to be ourselves, to be able to communicate honestly with another parent and say, help me, I need help with this because my teenager is going this direction and I'm scared. And I wanted to give a space for people to be able to release those emotions and not feel intimidated that, hey, Judy next door is going to tell everybody at the school and I'm going to get parent shamed.
Oh, that's such a good point. I mean, as I worked throughout as my child was growing up, I've always been a working mom. So there was that extra level of, just stress about him because I'm not there. I put my child in, daycare, and then he was in school, then he was in after school care. So I didn't have the opportunity. I always saw it to be home with him. But then again, he saw how hard I was working. So he has this amazing work ethic. But I didn't have that connection with a lot of other parents because I was working and couldn't volunteer. So I think the message that you're sharing today and the information that you have and the teachings and courses you have, I think are really going to be amazing for working parents.
I hope so.
I mean, do you see, do you have more, do you see a trend of more of stay-at-home parents or working parents, or is it a mix? Do they have different needs? Is there?
It's really a mix, and the needs is also mixed. Ironically, I have a little bit more of a younger child following right now. And even though I focus a lot of my material on some of the teenager stuff, because that's tough. But what I'm finding is that those lessons are so applicable to so many different things coming up in their lives. And so many young parents want to know what to do before, and they're hitting it early, which is so awesome. That's amazing. You know, they're getting the information before their kid hits to be a teenager. But I'm also seeing a lot of kids getting into trouble earlier than they had before. I think around age, like when I started teaching back when I was in my early 20s, I think age 10 was a real more easier time for children. And now I see a lot of 10-year-olds already starting to get into things that they shouldn't be getting into. And it's exposure. It's not them. They're being exposed to more. I'm with the internet, with society, with all of that, now social media. So they're growing up faster. So the problems are starting earlier.
Oh, so true. Right. The things that other people I know who have school-age children now, they're dealing with stuff that I never had to deal with my kid. You know, he's in his early 20s. It's like, I'm sorry, I have no advice. I don't know what to tell you because I didn't deal with that. So you've created such an amazing resource for working parents. I wish you were around when I was a working parent.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. So you mentioned your business is new, just over a year old. Was that right?
Yeah.
So exciting. So I'm sure, I mean, I have quite a few listeners who are new business owners, or they're entrepreneurs. They're thinking about starting something. What words of advice or tips, things that you've learned over the past year or in the process that you could and would like to share with these up-and-comers?
Breathe. Take a moment to breathe, because I feel like you can get suffocated in all of this. Starting a business is hard. It's so difficult. So give yourself some grace. And it is really important to not to forget about the family during this process. I think that's happens so often with early entrepreneurs in the first few years of their business, and sort of make that scheduled time, like I had mentioned before. Right. Along with that, time for yourself. I wake up every single morning and I find 1 hour in my day where I can dedicate to me. And it's 1 hour. It's not a lot, but it's a try. 1 hour. I'm a single mom of 4 kids. So come on.
You have 4 kids and you can put an hour to yourself.
1 hour.
I'm sorry. I'm going to give you.
But I have a goal list of things that I do within my hour, anywhere from exercise, which is actually what I'm doing. Like, this is how I'm dressed right now. If you're watching the video version of this right now, because I need to get ready to do that. If I don't put on the clothes, I won't go and work out. So I have to mentally get myself in that position. So that after this afternoon, I can have my hour of, that's how I'll take care of my hour today. But sometimes I take a bath during my hour. Sometimes I read during my hour. Sometimes I just watch rated R movies in my hour, because it's something I can't do with my kids. Makes me feel like an adult, whatever that looks like. And I think that, those 2 elements of taking care of yourself on some level and remembering your family so that your relationships don't suffer are just massively important, because we get focused into the passion of what we're trying to build, and it should be, but you also could get a little lost, I think, in it really easy.
Oh, absolutely true. I mean, what 1 hour a day? So it sounds, I mean, clearly, just like scheduling family time, you're being intentional with taking care of your own time.
Yeah.
Very,
One of
very
the things too, I think that I had to learn in this process is, and also with even my taking care of myself, was I had to change a lot of how I talk to myself internally.
Yes.
This we tend to put boundaries on ourselves without us even realizing it. Let me give you an example.
Please, yeah.
I would wake up in the morning before my kids woke up to go exercise, but I'm just not a morning person. When I say that, I'm putting a boundary on myself, a limited belief there that I'm not a morning person, therefore I can't go wake up early to go do that. And we do this a lot, not even just with, that's me taking care of myself, talking to myself, saying I can't do that. But I think we limit ourselves in our boundaries of what we're capable of, even in our business. Well, I would do that, but, or I can't do that because I'm not that kind of whatever. Those are all really limiting beliefs and boundaries that you're putting on yourself. Instead, now that I realize that I started to change how I'm internally talking to myself, I say, I would wake up in the morning and exercise before my kids wake up, but I don't want to. I really enjoy that 30 minutes of the quiet house to sit in my bed and just lie there and be lazy and get on my phone and hang out. But the difference there is now I've made that a choice. It's a choice now, and I'm owning my choice with the things that are authentic to me, things that I like, things that I now realize about myself.
Right.
But choices can be changed. I can make a different choice tomorrow. I won't because I hate working out in the morning, but I could. But it's a choice now. I would do this with my business, but that's a limiting belief. Well, I would do that, and maybe I will. And I could do that someday. Right now, I'm going to focus on this instead. Now it's a choice not to do that thing over there.
Right.
And again, choices can be changed. So I think that as you're going through this process, the earlier you can start talking to yourself without limited beliefs, I think the farther you can grow.
That is so true. We are so in sync and in tune on that one. Thank you for verbalizing it so clearly and so eloquently. I mean, it's just choices over, choices can be changed. That's a nice slogan. I like it. I do like it.
Thank you.
So, okay. So also in all this, you're starting a new business. You're also, you serve on two boards. Is that correct? So how'd you get involved in that? And how do you balance, that yet one more or two more responsibilities?
Yeah. So, well, I got into it when I was doing that whole life shift. Again, thinking, what am I going to do now? I love to serve people. I was happily so honored to be invited to these two different schools. One of them is a private school for gifted children that I used to work for years ago. That I truly believe in. It really helps the gifted child and in ways beyond education, but also really focusing on their social emotional development, which I really believe in. And the other school is called the Girls Athletic Leadership School. They're a Denver inner city school. So completely on the other side of the spectrum. The first school is a preschool through middle school. The second school, the inner city school, is middle school and high school. And again, that's it's actually a charter school, but so it's public. Okay. It's right in the middle of not the best part of Denver, and serves a wide variety of girls because it is an all girls school.
Oh, wow.
And they believe in movement. It's called the Girls Athletic Leadership School because it's like every girl is an athlete in some kind of way. And they believe that movement is important. So, and again, I was like, I love it. I love all girls. I really believe in the single sex education environment. So I was like, yes. And I love movement and both of them. And I just couldn't choose between them. So I just was like, I really wanted to help both. And again, I'm a giver. And I have to be careful because now I need to set boundaries on my giving. But I've learned how to balance it over the years. It is a volunteer thing where I meet once a month with each of the schools in an evening. So I just book it out in my calendar. And my kids know that I'm doing something, great with the community. So sometimes I even bring them along for them to hear.
That's amazing. I'm glad you do that. It's beautiful.
Yeah. And it's great because I get to see the behind the scenes of schools, which two are different, private school and public school, completely different. So, and then it helps me. I get to see all that too and learn about all this different types of education, which is, again, my passion. If I can't be in the classroom, then at least I can do this, and that helps. Although I substitute teach as much as I can too.
I was going to say, okay, so you do this and then you're a substitute teacher.
Yeah, because I can't help it. I want to get into the classroom and see the children. So,
I would admit, now I only come at this from me being the child. Okay, so all of a sudden you walk into class one day and your teacher's not gone there. There's a substitute teacher. You can't get much notice when you're a substitute teacher, right? Do they call you like that morning? Is the night before? I mean,
sometimes they do. That's right. Yeah, sometimes they do. It's better when you know that teacher's going on vacation and they can call you ahead of time, but most of the time that's not the case. And so the trick to that is that I substitute teach at one school. And that way, those kids know me because you're there often. And so they know who I am. I walk in the building and they know exactly who I am instead of being a stranger. It's harder to deal with behavior issues when you don't have any rapport. And so that's my reasoning behind it is you need to create a rapport with your students, even if you are a substitute teacher. And that's where the value of teaching comes in. I mean, otherwise you're a babysitter. So,
right.
Yeah. So, but I love it. I do love it and can do it as much as I can.
Wow. Okay. So you defined yourself early on as a giver. You definitely are, but you're doing wonderful things. You're helping so many people. It's an amazing, beautiful thing that you're doing. And in the short time that you've had this business for just a year, it seems like you've really done a lot. I'm sure you have, goals and plans for this. Is there anything either coming up soon or on the distant horizon that you can share with us what you have coming up?
Yeah, I'm excited about it. So the podcast is actually just recently launched a couple weeks, so it's only a few weeks old.
Exciting. And what's the name of the podcast again? I'm sorry.
It's Impactful Parenting. Yeah,
Impactful
Parenting Podcast. So has the same logo, everything. So you can find me on Spotify and Apple and all the other channels. But moving into the new year, I'm excited to get started with that connection and conversation group again. Coming around in March, I'll go ahead and launch my behavior management program again. That helps kids who have anger management issues or high anxiety, and it helps parents teach their child how to control those big emotions. That's a really powerful course. And I'm super, super, super excited to start working on translating all of my content into Spanish.
Oh, that's fabulous. I don't hear that often enough. Oh my gosh, that's exciting.
That's a progress thing though. I don't expect that to really launch in probably till 2022, because it'll take a while. But it is already in the works. It's starting.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, good luck with that, Mike. That's going to be a huge undertaking, but so useful. And gosh, you'll be able to reach even more people with your passion.
That's the hope. That's the hope, to reach the Spanish-speaking community, which I feel like even has less resources than the English-speaking community. So to really help them.
Well, kudos to you for doing that. That's fantastic. So I know there's a lot of parents listening. So where can they find you to get your resources or book you or talk to you? Where are you?
Super easy. My business name is The Impactful Parent. So on all your social media channels, I'm at The Impactful Parent, but you do need the. A little bit of when you start a business, I didn't realize that. And now it's like stuck. You can't change it because you've already developed a following. So The Impactful Parent. And then it's same thing, theimpactfulparent.com on the on the web. And yeah, it's so easy. Just that and Pack a Print. You'll find me.
That just totally makes it easy. Well, I mean, if you're out walking or driving right now, those links are going to be in the show notes. So you'll be very easy to find Kristina. Just click on the link and get everything that you need. So Kristina, again, thank you for coming on the Pink Lifestyle Show. The information and resources that you've shared with the listeners are beyond useful and amazing. But thank you so much for sharing yourself and your story and your company with us. And I look forward to seeing everything that you're going to accomplish. I know that you just are. So again, thank you so much. And everybody for listening, thank you for being here. And until next time, bye-bye.